You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
What's up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 229. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire, Roshan Warner, at Roro.
Hello, hello.
Hello, indeed. And the host of Large Popcorn and video producer at DualShockers, Christian Macias, at ISO Christian, _ISO Christian. Every time it gets me.
At underscore. Here's my my little intro for today. Help. Tim something is no longer at Xbox and they're losing. I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah. We'll get to that. Don't you worry.
I couldn't even say the joke correctly, but yeah, thank you.
And I guess I should put that in here as well. The former DMZ daddy, the former Tarkov Teletubby, I don't even know what to call you anymore. Gage Dempster at Gilbo Biggins.
Thank you. You know what? If this is the sad thing with Call of Duty is that if they had continued to support DMZ, I would probably still be playing it. I really enjoyed that game, but yeah, former for now until it gets brought back, hopefully.
Indeed, I'm with you on that.
It was Tim Dog. Xbox has lost Tim Dog.
Yeah. Tim Dog down. And thank you to everyone joining us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is our state of Xbox. Is Xbox going third party? We'll find out. We'll find out. But first, the show always starts with the quick bites, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Guys, there are those that said this day would never come. What are they to say now? Halo Season 2 is currently sitting at a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. There's only 13 reviews right now, but it is a great start. You know what? It's a great start.
It's only gone up from the initial debut, so that's good. As more reviews come in, the number's going up. That's I really thought this day would never come, so I'm this is good. This is looking good.
Hell yeah. Moving on, an important news item here in the quick bites. IGN has announced, or IGN's creators rather, have announced that they have created the IGN Creators Guild. And so essentially it is they are uniting in solidarity as they strive for a stronger, more equitable IGN. It is, of course, their unionization of the IGN creators. So some very good news for game industry journalists unionizing here.
Yeah. Hopefully it happens and Ziff Davis recognizes the Creators Guild as a union, because that would be awesome. And I was listening, I think, to someone talk about, it must have been Rebecca Valentine on Kind of Funny Games. I had it on the background. I think she was saying, like, the reason why we do this now is, like, a lot of unions tend to form during, like, bad times, like during like stressful times. And we're doing this at, like, hopefully, like, at a good place at work, just to, like, minimize stress, minimize, like, worry, and hopefully get it through with, like, as little pushback as possible, without it interfering with any kind of work stuff as well. So, yeah, hopefully it goes through. That'd be cool to see.
Indeed. Our next quick bite is a bit of a sad story here. Toys for Bob's studio office in California is closing after laying off 86 people from the studio. This is, of course, part of the 1,900 layoffs that Microsoft announced from Charlie Intel, which is a famous, like, Call of Duty informer. They say that it's not clear what the future of Toys for Bob looks like. I did look them up because I was curious. Apparently, they were around 200 people in the studio as of 2021. So if they were laid off 86, that's almost half the developers. So I'll be curious to see if they're going to keep Toys for Bob and move the offices to a smaller office, or if they're going to be absorbed into other studios. But sad nonetheless for the 86 people who are laid off.
It is a shame. Like we keep talking about it every week that this keeps happening. But yeah, I guess it was one of those that we were expecting, I guess, compared to the other ones that seemed to come out of the blue, but still sad.
Yeah, disappointing.
Indeed. And there were warranted conversations that I saw as well that Phil was getting criticized because he basically went to that studio and said that the acquisition would only improve things at Toys for Bob, and it's clearly not the case. So, yeah, not good.
No.
A bummer, especially after having Crash 4. It's about time.
Yeah.
At least getting received well critically. Sales wise, calling it a success is super qualitative, depending on how. I don't know what the budget for that game was. I don't know what expectations were, but it sold relatively well. It was like 400,000 copies ish. Maybe expectations were a bit higher, but still critically is very well received. So a bummer that we don't know if we're getting anything else from Toys for Bob in anytime soon, or what that studio will even look like. More support, I guess, for Call of Duty again.
Oh God,
I hope not.
No, not another. What was it? Vicarious Visions.
Yeah, they were absorbed into Blizzard, right?
Oh brother.
Yep. Moving on, Elgato has announced their next gen capture cards. So some exciting news for people who are creators on consoles. HDMI 2.1 capture cards are finally here for Series X and PS5. There's also a USB 4KX that works on other devices as well, like an iPad, as Tom Warren points out. The $229.99 4KX is a new USB capture card that lets you capture 4K 144 frames per second. If you have a full PC setup, you can buy the 4K Pro, which is the actual card that you insert in your motherboard, for $279.99, and it supports 8K up to 60 frames per second HDR pass-through, all while capturing at 4K 60 FPS HDR as well. So some exciting capture card initiatives coming from Elgato there.
I don't know if I'll ever get this. Personally, I don't have the bandwidth to even upload or stream anything in 4K 60. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still cool though for like actual content creators. You know what I mean? Like, no,
right.
Not that we're not. Sorry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Like professionals in the industry who are required to do this, like IGN and stuff.
Professional
like that,
grade. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Indeed. Definitely more geared to the YouTubers.
Yeah, Digital Foundry, I think, would be a good one. Like,
absolutely, yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know anyone out there that's streaming at 4K, or anyone that would. There's a lot of people that can't even stream 4K to their device.
Right, I was gonna say that. That's not. It's a game of limitations on both ends of it, because there's a lot of people that probably can't even don't have the bitrate to even watch content 4K 60.
Indeed. Big news for Sonic 3. We got a brand new teaser from Sonic 3. We also got the news that Jim Carrey is officially returning to reprise his role as Robotnik. And we got news that Sonic the Hedgehog 3's main... Oh, I'm sorry. That's the movie. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie, will have the main theme of Sonic Adventure 2. Very iconic soundtrack there.
Hell yeah on all three of these. all three of these. When I saw the first trailer, or the teaser of the logo, it's very similar to the Adventure 2 logo video game with the two, logos, I guess, of Shadow and Sonic spinning around the logo. But yeah, I'm very excited and happy that Jim Carrey's coming back. We weren't sure if he was going to after the second one, so that's cool. I think he does a fun Robotnik. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing more from it. The Knuckles TV show is supposed to be coming out this year too. I think we're supposed to get a trailer at the Super Bowl. I don't know, but yeah, I'm looking forward to more Sonic stuff. Even if it's not all super great, I'm I'm here for it. I think the movies are good, but
I agree.
The Sonic Prime TV show, I didn't love, unfortunately, but I'm looking forward to it.
Did the Knuckles spinoff ever come out?
No, that's what I was talking about.
Oh.
It's coming out this year, I think,
Okay.
and we're getting our first trailer supposedly at the Super Bowl.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
Real quick, on the front of Sonic Adventure 2, there was rumors that Sonic 3, the movie, is like a full adaptation of the game. Well, no, obviously not 1-to-1. It won't be that, but still, like it mostly is inspired by events from that game. Which, if there's anything is going to get me to actually go watch the movie, because I wrote those off after the end of the second one, is an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. And I don't know if you guys talked about casting rumors. Did you guys talk about this at all in the past couple of weeks? I know I missed. No? Okay.
No.
The first is that Hayden Christensen is up for the voice of Shadow. I'll stop there. How you guys feeling about that?
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
And then there's also rumors that Rouge the Bat is being cast, but I can't find where it was, who the rumors are. I'm seeing, here we go. I think it was Margot Robbie, Zoe Saldana, Emma Stone. That's what I've been seeing.
Jesus.
Oh, no, sorry. Kristen Ritter is the one that supposedly has been cast as Rouge. Kristen
Jessica
Ritter.
Jones?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, she's more than just that. She's more than just that.
Right. That's just how. No, that's just how I remember her name, because I loved her in that. Yeah.
Where's the love for Breaking Bad or Gilmore Girls even?
I love Breaking Bad as well. It was also very good. Never seen Gilmore Girls. I see the look of disappointment. All right.
Looking forward to it.
Hell yes. Moving on. 5 Resident Evil projects are apparently in development. 2 of these projects are expected to be Resident Evil 9 and Resident Evil 5 Remake. I would suspect that at least some of the other ones are VR related, because they've supported VR a lot with RE4 Remake and RE2 Remake. Did that support it? I don't remember, but they've had RE7, I think, and RE8 both had VR modes. Yep. So yeah, I'd say that at least 1 or 2 of those are VR games as well. But exciting that at least Capcom's continuing to put new stuff in addition to the remakes that they keep coming out with.
They have kind of a pretty nice cadence of releasing something new and then releasing something, a remake, and then having one of their older games be like adapted into like VR. Like that seems to be like the triple cadence so far, and I'm kind of enjoying that. It's kind of nice. Although people have been asking for Code Veronica for a couple of years now. Seemingly, I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but we'll see.
And it's crazy to me that they had a RE1 remake already, technically, and that game is already extremely dated, like compared to the others.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to see. It'd be cool if eventually we got to the point where you get like an RE1 remake that's in the style of Resident Evil 2 or something like that, over the shoulder kind of thing, just to experience that whole setting in a completely new way. But yeah, I don't know. Five Resident Evil games is a lot, and I wouldn't be lying if I'm like, is this how it happens historically? Like, Ubisoft back in the day was at the top of their game, and they're like, you know what? We can just make 6 of everything, I think, and then that leads you into this cycle of I don't know. That's a lot of games, though. I'm excited for Resident Evil 9. See where that goes.
We say that, but like a while ago, it was like they had like 3 or 4 in development at the same time. It was like I guess if you want to count like the DLC as a full game, that was one. RE4 remake. What else? The VR as well. I guess it's 3, but still. 2 more, like I don't know if they're outsourcing to other teams or if it's like a smaller project, maybe it's
For sure.
doable.
And you guys bring up a good point too, right? That's the thing. As soon as you have like a VR or a mobile game in there, then it's like, okay, obviously that's not the same as having 5 full
Yeah.
games ready to go
Yeah.
back to back to back. So, yeah, I'm still very excited.
I'm with you though.
Yeah,
I hope like the bigger project is like, all right, this is like getting like more of a focus. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
right.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the development teams. It's just the publishing side where it's like, okay, you guys have been getting a lot of praise for like a lot of years straight back to back. Let's not take our foot off the creative gas here. Let's keep the quality up.
Oh yeah.
Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City 2. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. That first one was bad. The first one was bad. Don't do
That was one of the jankiest messes I've ever played.
Yeah, that was bad.
They don't have any reason to do this, but as someone who isn't into the Resident Evil stuff that much, because I'm not a horror game guy, selfishly, it would be cool if they do like have this treatment for their other like classic titles that are cult classics and stuff, like Beautiful Joe. I think
True.
Killer 7 is one that people used to like. I never played it. But Beautiful Joe, seeing that come back would be kind of cool. They have no reason to do that. Nobody is clamoring for these games like Resident Evil, but
Dino Crisis.
But at the same point, Rashan, I think it's totally possible, and this is why I give Capcom so much credit, because Dragon's Dogma was that game as well. That was a cult classic that nobody was talking about, and they had no reason to bring back. But now they've brought that game back and seemingly have given it this massive AAA budget. So, like, that's the type of Capcom I really like, and hopefully that's what we get more of because of the success of these Resident Evil games, that they spin off and they bring back some of these cult classics, because there's no reason to bring back Dragon's Dogma at all. Nobody was clamoring for it, and yet here it is looking fucking incredible. So you never know, Rashan. You never know.
No, yeah. True.
Indeed. You never know. Just like we won't know if Call of Duty is set to embrace the open world campaign approach for Black Ops Gulf War and beyond, coming from Insider Gaming, of course, Tom Henderson. This year, Call of Duty is set to embrace an open world campaign. It won't be the first time that the series has seen open world, yada, yada, yada. Modern Warfare 3, which I don't think was received very well. But, however, Gulf War's campaign has been built from the ground up rather than using assets from previous entries. Currently, the game's open world will see the player and their squad navigate the map more akin to that of Far Cry than anything we've seen before in the Call of Duty universe. Players will be able to utilize vehicles to get around, as well as using a fast travel system to get from one point to the next. Although the scope of how many linear missions there will be remains to be seen, sources have confirmed that some linear missions will be integrated into the game. The campaign, which is being developed by Raven, and the multiplayer and zombies will be handled by Treyarch. We'll see the return of some Black Ops characters, including Adler, who will be part of your team. Outside of Gulf War, sources also revealed that it's likely the series could lean into more open world campaigns over linear moving forward. Call of Duty 2025, codenamed Saturn, which currently doesn't have an assigned leading developer, which is insane, is also pitched to have an open world campaign. There's more here, but I think you got the gist of it.
Yeah, I think we were all pretty quick to react the same way at first glance, which is, oh, good, another campaign that takes place on the Battle Royale map. That's, that was like one of the worst received parts of Modern Warfare 3. But if this game comes out, and if they're true to their word that say, like, it's on a map that is, like, say, maybe 4 times the size of a Battle Royale map, like, it feels like an actual Far Cry-sized map, and it's completely unique and different from the Battle Royale map, I'm willing to give that a shot. Like, I think that's interesting, because they have done the same formula for so long. But I think rightly concerned that, like, the idea of just taking multiplayer assets and shoving a campaign into those is, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's really fruitful creative wise. Like, it just seems like very lazy to me, but we'll see what ends up happening.
Which is so funny to me, because Halo used to do the opposite. Like, they would take campaign missions and turn them into multiplayer maps. Like, Halo Reach did that a lot. I know Bungie basically pulled a bunch of those. So it's interesting that they're trying to do the reverse of that, because I feel like that's harder to try to,
Right.
make a campaign out of a multiplayer map than vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm like somewhere in the middle of this. Like I went like this initially, but only because I worry about like the precedent after this. As Gage mentioned, like a couple episodes ago, like this is like developed by Treyarch and it's been in development for like what is 4 years now. If someone's gonna do like an open world Far Cry campaign and succeed, it'll probably be like Treyarch because they make when they're allowed the time to do it, they make some pretty cool damn stuff, right? And I think we all agree there.
Right.
So I have no doubt, like if they do get to like fully envision something that is like to the scope of what they aim to be, that could be actually pretty cool, right? But like I worry, like if that is successful, what do like the subsequent Call of Duties look like, or even like what does like multiplayer side looks like? And I worry that then developers could fall into like the homogenized side, where it's like, yeah, the campaign takes place in the same map that is also the battle royale, and then you just rip off places from the battle royale, put it into multiplayer, and like suddenly like everything feels kind of samey, and like I'm engaging with a product in a less interesting way than I otherwise would have with like more like linear kind of stuff developed specifically for like single player. So I don't know. It's obviously like a wait and see type deal, but yeah, from what it sounds like, if they can make that a reality, that could be cool and interesting for a new Call of Duty game.
Very cool. Very cool. Maybe. We'll see. We will find out in November when I will announce the release date of Call of Duty Gulf War, which is going to be November 12th. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just making stuff up now.
November 12th. You're gonna tell us in November that the release date is November 12th.
Sorry. Yeah, whatever. Moving on. Square Enix is set to overhaul how it makes games, apparently, after flat sales. You know, since that happens all the time, they had to get rid of Square Enix, they had to get rid of Eidos Montreal. They had to sell them to Embracer, and then half of them get laid off. Yeah, brilliant, Square Enix, brilliant. According to Bloomberg, Square Enix director and president Takashi Kiro told analysts that this week that the company's new structure will be announced by spring 2024 and put in place in time for the start of April, and aims to improve the quality of the company's games. In its financial results for the 9 months ending December 2023, Square Enix's sales were essentially flat, with sales from its digital entertainment business actually down 4.7%. They also say it's somewhat surprising given the release of Final Fantasy 16 in June. Maybe let's release it on all the platforms, but you know, that's just me. I don't know. Hopefully that, I don't know. What do you even take from this? Because Final Fantasy 16 was a really well-regarded game, so like they're acting like their games are bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what this new strategy is going to be, but whatever it is, hopefully it does it does assist whatever issues they're having. Like you said, Dan, with like having Final Fantasy 16 on multiple platforms may have helped the sales. Right. So maybe they take a look at their partnerships and see how that helps. But it seems like they're focusing on how they develop games. I don't know if that's different from where it's releasing, but whatever they're doing, I hope it helps, because I think the games that they're already making are good. Not all of them are hits, but most of them I feel are up to the quality standards. So I'm not sure what's the problem behind closed doors.
Right.
You know what else is a problem behind closed doors?
There we go.
An Elden Ring mobile game is on the way. And Christian, you're so excited, as we can tell.
I can't wait to pay for Estus flasks, dude. I'm so excited.
It's so funny how like the bullet point of information just gets worse and worse. Like at first, I mean, there's been numerous tweets about this. It's like an Elden Ring mobile game is in development already. It's like, okay, I guess, and it's like Tencent is developing it. That sucks. And then it's a free-to-play game inspired by Genshin Impact, wherein they're looking to like have in-app purchases. And it's like, oh, this is like the worst thing you could have done out of acquiring this franchise. Is like turn this singular product into like a gotcha game. That's like antithetical to everything From Software did with that game. It's like, okay, you're gonna basically ruin the telos of Elden Ring, which is a bummer. And I'm kind of glad that they're having development struggles with it for the past 2 years. Apparently, they canceled another project that was like very similar, where they were going to adapt something else. I can't remember what it is right now. And I'm glad they shelved it, because I don't think this is like good. I don't want to see more of this from the industry.
Yep.
See, the joke's on you, Christian, because they actually turned that other game into Elden Ring mobile game. They just slapped the title on it. It's still the same thing that they were making.
They just slapped it on.
Yeah.
They just pivoted.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
All right. What else is nice, though, guys? Helldivers 2 is killing it already in sales. It's currently number 1 on the Steam's top sellers list for paid games in the US. It's already ahead of Palworld. It's also the number 1 most pre-ordered game on the PlayStation Store in the US and other regions. And it looks like, as Okami13 says on Twitter, it's the first shooter in years for PlayStation doing reasonably well.
And somebody else tweeted, technically, it's the first live service game from PlayStation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And first day and date PC and PS5 launch for an exclusive, if whatever that means. This is awesome. I will. So as somebody, I think all four of us were. This is one of those few games that all four of us were kind of, I think, roughly equally excited to play. I didn't expect it to do this well at all, even a little bit. Like I didn't, honestly. I thought this game would come out. I thought it would be good, and I was excited to play it, and it would have its niche, fun little group. I was not expecting top 10. I was not expecting number 1 spot in Steam's sales charts. So this is awesome. And the dog I have in this fight is that it's a third person over the shoulder shooter. So hopefully this is the start of something, because I absolutely love that genre, and I need more of it. This is awesome. This is all good news to me.
As I've noted, Helldivers 1 was like insanely fun back in the PS3 days. Like I was sold on this game as soon as it was announced, just because I loved Helldivers 1 so much. I saw IGN's preview just because I needed to get a little bit of a fix somehow with the game releasing soon. You know what I mean?
Right.
And their only worry is like, hey, after a couple hours with the game, it felt like I was kind of approaching like the gist of everything there was to see. Like, granted, there's procedural elements in it, but like, when you play Lethal Company so much, that starts to feel kind of like the same in its own way. And he's like, that's the only thing I'm getting. The only negative I'm getting out of the game so far is like, after a couple hours, I'm already kind of feeling like I'm seeing sort of most of what this game has to offer. And then like the next day, there was an announcement made that like all future DLC for Helldivers 2 will be free. And it's like, okay, well then that's awesome. And it's also like a $40 game or whatever, like maybe 50, I guess, but still, that's very cool to see.
Right. And like it's funny because the studio that develops this, it's like a second party type situation, isn't it? Where they're not owned, but they just have exclusive publishing rights. Because I was gonna say everything about this game seems antithetical to Jim Ryan's PlayStation that he's developed over the past year. You think about every single thing that's going on with this game: day and date PC and PlayStation launch, all future DLC is free, cross progression, cross play, and yet it's blowing up. It's almost as if there's a reason for that. So, I mean, hopefully this is the start of something.
No, they'll take the wrong lessons from it.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah.
People want more third-person shooters. That's all they want.
They do.
Also, yes, though. I mean, yeah.
That's the right lesson. That's a good lesson.
They'll find a way to... No, but you're right, Dan. They'll find a way to take the wrong lesson. Yeah.
For sure. All right. Spider-Man 2's long-awaited update is finally coming March 7th with New Game Plus and some new suits being added. Insomniac said stay tuned for their full list of updates and features coming soon. So,
I think this is also the update where you can finally change the time of day after beating the game, or at any point, I mean.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Very cool. Also cool, we've got Shredder and Splinter in the Fortnite shop next week, along with some free Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff.
Did you hear that, Glenn?
So I saw, I'm getting Fortnite videos in my algorithm now on TikTok, and mostly it's like shared to me from other people because I don't really scroll TikTok anymore. But still, like I saw like there's like the TMNT hoverboard, there's like the shell like glider, different skins. And then like in the game, you can now pick up the TMNT weapons, and they each like have different like abilities to them, and you can kind of swing them around. Like Leonardo's has like a double jump. Maybe they all have double jumps. But I saw Leonardo's sword Katana's has a double jump and stuff. So that's cool. That's fun.
Christian's our resident Fortnite expert now.
Yeah, I'm almost level 100 in the battle pass, so I think I'm like 96, 97.
Damn.
I've turned into low-key a bit of a sweat sometimes. I'm not gonna lie to you. I promise you.
But not in build mode, the most important mode.
He's cranking 360s on 4-year-olds on the daily.
All right.
Sending them back to the fucking lobby.
Apparently, I should have put some of these stories in Street Meets. My apologies. I didn't put anything in Street Meets. So that takes us to the PXN news of the week. Guys, this might be actually considered, Street Meet news of the week. That's a new thing.
Right.
The new PlayStation handheld, question mark, may be on the way, powered by AMD and is in early development. We have some information here that a new PlayStation handheld is in early development. It is expected to have 18 CUs, which is compute units, and a GPU clock speed of 1.8 gigahertz or slower, which that's a weird way to describe that, 1.8 gigahertz or slower. Like normally it would be, you would say, or faster. I don't.
Better, yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Pick the lowest version and then say it might be better instead of the highest.
Right.
It would be
Right.
worse.
The slower clock speed is to maintain. Oh, okay, this makes sense then. The slower clock speed is to maintain compatibility with PS4 and PS5 titles. The handheld is rumored to be in the same line as the Steam Deck. It may be capable of playing PS4 games and some PS5 games with a patch. The device is being developed by Sony in collaboration with AMD. And the PlayStation handheld aims to compete with other portable gaming devices on the market. Are we excited about a new PSP?
It is so funny that the PlayStation Portal exists, is my first takeaway. Because that is such a Jim Ryan product. Maybe it was greenlit beforehand, but like it was released under Jim Ryan's helm, right? And so it feels like yes, the demand for this for this kind of hardware, I think, is more warranted in the wake of like Switch continued success and then the newfound success from the Steam Deck, particularly, and then other PC handhelds, but particularly the Steam Deck. It's like, cool, we're in a place now where people are actually enjoying handheld gaming to this degree. It's like, okay, this is going to get like other hardware manufacturers to make something akin to that. Like maybe Microsoft is R&Ding something on their end as well. Maybe it'd be cool to do like Game Pass games with like a handheld. That could work as well, right? I had a point where I was going with this, but I can't anymore. I totally derailed myself somehow. Anyway, this could work on PlayStation's end, but it also is like, okay, then what is the point of the PlayStation Portal?
Which
Nothing.
I don't understand how that thing keeps selling. Like I keep seeing
It's
that sold out.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. I don't know. And you know what? I think it totally makes sense that we got. I would actually argue that the PlayStation Portal, because there's not a lot of actual tech inside that thing, I would argue that it probably was greenlit under Jim Ryan. I don't think that's something that took, 6-7 years of R&D. I really don't. It's just a LCD screen with like a tiny little battery and maybe like 10 gigs of storage for the operating system, if that. Like, but that is it's totally Jim Ryan's PlayStation to release a product like that and then release the actual product that people want after they've already made all their money from the fucking Portal. I don't know. I think this sounds cool, but I'm just so burned from the Portal and how I think that that's such a big scam that like this kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to be excited about a PlayStation handheld because of the Portal. But yes, this is absolutely what everybody wanted. Something that I would be interested in. Absolutely.
The biggest thing for me is, will they actually support it with first-party content? Because that is the reason why the Vita died so quickly. They had great first-party support initially, but then they stopped making stuff for it. Like,
I don't think they need to.
I don't know.
Not if it's treated as like analogous to like what a Switch 2 and the Steam Deck is, like a way to play your mobile games locally this time on a piece of hardware.
But then
and not just. And
is that enough though? But is that enough? Like,
Right.
what's the system seller? Because especially if this thing, if we're looking at development track, this thing's probably coming out, probably at least a year and a half, 2 years from now. We're getting close to PS6 territory. So if this has the power to run only some PS5 games, it's not going to be able to. You're not going to just be able to port PS6 games to it. You are going to get into the territory where you're going to need to start having separate games developed for it. In which case, is Sony going to actually, like, I think Dan has a legitimate concern there. Is Sony actually going to foot the bill and allow studios to develop separate versions of games, if not separate games entirely, for this product?
Right.
I love the Vita. I mean, I enjoyed Golden Abyss, Uncharted Golden Abyss. I know people aren't as high on it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. But yeah, it makes a confusing marketing message, in my opinion, by saying some PS5 games will work.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah, I have to wait and see. But to me, it seems like not necessary from a business standpoint, especially like you said with the Portal already out there, and even though this would be a better version of that, with the PS5 doing so well, and it just I don't know, it sounds weird to me, and especially how Dan was explaining it just now with like I think well actually how Gage was explaining it just now, there doesn't really seem to be a need for it at this time.
To answer the biggest question that Gage posed, which is, if it is more akin to like something that like will require games that exist only on that device per se, like will Sony support it? Your answer is look at PSVR 2. Is Sony supporting that?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
The answer there is no. So if it's more akin to something like that, then I'd be wary about buying this Portal.
It's funny because like on paper they technically support it, but it's almost like the equivalent of like quiet quitting. Like Sony's quiet quitting the PSVR 2, where it's like they're showing up and like, once every 8 months they'll release some sort of, exclusive title for it. But like, yeah, no, not really. It's that thing's on its last legs for sure already. And it came out what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
I don't even know.
Yeah. That's crazy. And this is the thing with Sony, and hopefully this is a problem with Jim Ryan's Sony, because that thing came out and a bunch of tech people who aren't video games journalists, not to, make any comments there, but like tech people who break these things down like to the actual hardware. The PSVR 2 is an incredibly impressive headset, and Sony is letting it die. That is the most frustrating part. It outclasses in terms of specs most of the PC VR headsets, but Sony just doesn't. They fumble on the software side of things every time.
And I think, part of that is the install base that I don't think people want to spend that amount of money after already spending $500 on the console that you need as well. So it's a large ask. Natalie says Christian definitely is a sweat. So there you go. Inside scoop. And then Kirik says he made it. Thank you, Kirik. Thank you for joining us. You're back.
Missed you.
Hell yeah. We are in the PXN News of the Week, and the next item is Disney has announced a $1.5 billion stake in Epic Games. They showed off this weird large map with different universes surrounding it, including Marvel and Star Wars and ESPN and Disney Plus and all the stuff from Disney. And we got a little bit of information from a little blurb from PR as well that says the new persistent universe will offer a multitude of opportunities for consumers to play, watch, shop, and engage with content, characters, and stories from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more. Players, gamers, and fans will be able to create their own stories and experiences, express their fandom in a distinctively Disney way, and share content with each other in ways that they love. This all will be powered by Unreal Engine. So, Disneyland in Fortnite, I guess. I don't know.
The tagline for this was play, watch, create, shop. And
consumerism.
just the most, that's the most disgusting thing you could end a trailer with, in my opinion.
Is it? I was gonna say,
Crazy.
like, is it dramatic to say that this feels a little dystopian? Like, I don't know. It's just so like,
Yeah.
it's so like, come on, come look at all the things you love, and they're in the shop too, and you can buy them. Come on, come in. It's like, all right.
You all know.
Fortnite is like it's so. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
It is dystopian if it happened anywhere else, but because it's Fortnite, it's sort of acceptable for whatever
Right.
reason because everyone dismisses it as like, oh, it's Fortnite, it's laughable. But it's also like 1.5 billion is a lot of money to invest in like some kind of experience that now is going to be like what would you call predatorized for kids mostly.
Yep. That's $1.5 billion, not gifted, invested. They want that
Right.
money back.
Oh, God.
And then some, obviously.
And
But
And
yeah,
yes, exactly, right? So, yeah, I don't know. That's I'm glad that I've run out of steam on the whole Fortnite thing. But Glenn, you're about to make Disney a lot of money.
God, that's dangerous. See, that's dangerous for Glenn. Fuck.
Yep.
And you guys know how largely positive I am usually about like Marvel and Star Wars and that kind of stuff. I'm usually pretty positive, but like this is like Christian was saying, this is literally just like consumerism.
Yep.
100%. Like there's no real like art in this. This is just like, here you go. Here's all the properties that we have. It's like, all right, sure.
And I'm sure they'll do like some kind of cool like they're doing like how Fortnite recently with their partnership with Unreal Engine, they have like unique experiences now, and they have like a whole page where you can look at and play experiences. I'm sure they'll do something like that, and like you mentioned, Fortnite Disney, where you can go to these events and stuff. Like I'm sure that will be a thing, but it's also gonna be like heavily monetized no matter where you go, left and right. All that said, though, the day that Pandora comes to Fortnite, the Fortnite BR map, I'll be like, you know what? Let's get it done. Let's drop in.
Get it done.
Get it done. Hell yeah. Are you ready for Avatar 7 and 8 that James Cameron's thought up?
You saw that? Yeah. But he said that he's gonna die before that
Yeah.
happens. So he's like, I'm gonna pass the torch on to someone else. That's actually a pretty cool article about him, like talking about like, never mind.
You know what I
James
got?
Cameron. Shout out to James Cameron.
You know what I got from
For
that?
real.
You know what I got from that? I was like, no shit, you'll be dead by then. It took you fucking how many 10 plus years to come out with the second one.
And but now you know why after you see it. You haven't seen it yet.
No, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the most technically impressive things ever put to screens. Like never mind.
Shout out, you know what? Shout out to Weta Effects, because
Yeah.
it's not black magic, it's talent. It's a lot of talented people in New Zealand that are busting their ass to bring the impossible to screen. Shout out to them.
Oh yeah.
I like that Cameron guy. He's cool.
This Cameron guy's all right.
And now we've made it to the moment Ro has been waiting for, because he is the man on this segment, and it is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth State of Play that was shown off and a demo announced, available now. Got some pretty screenshots here from their presentation.
Red, what do you think about our outfits?
Oh my God. Huh? Oh, that was hilarious. Hilarious. I did see that part. But as I told you guys before the podcast, I didn't watch the whole thing because it was pretty spoilery. But from what I did see, just looks like more good stuff that I want to consume as we're talking about with the other stuff, but less monetized. So I'm very excited to play this. I saw a couple of gameplay stuff with how the map is ginormous and how it's like all interconnected. I don't think it's fully open world. I think it's like more like open zone thing, but the zones are like really big and vast to explore. So that's exciting. A lot of mini games. I love the mini games in the first one, and it looks like they added a bit more with other characters. So like Tifa has her own mini game, Barrett has her own mini game. So that's fun as well. What else did I see that I can mention? Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing because I didn't want to spoil it for myself, but I'm very, very excited. I didn't play the demo either. I just want to play it when it comes out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You save progress. I saw that progress does save for the most part, like items and stuff that you gather and like other stuff that you do in that demo will transfer over. But I do also know that the Nibelheim section is like not at the beginning, so it's like in more of like the early or later stages of the early start of the game, and that if you do play the demo, once you buy the full game and you're playing the full game, you can then choose to then skip that section. I wonder what that does, like pacing wise, for like players who play the demo and then skip that section later on.
Right.
It's a little bit weird, but
Interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Those screenshots are gorgeous.
Yes.
yeah, dude, a lot of the art for that game is nuts.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm not a Final Fantasy person, or I've never really played them, but this is beautiful. Like, incredibly beautiful. Maybe I'll play the demo. Maybe.
May as well.
It's free, why not? Try it out. Maybe I love it and I come back next week and I'm a Final Fantasy fanatic.
Play the remake on the weekend.
Yeah. I beat the first remake and then, or not first, but 7 part 1.
Here's what you do. You like the demo so much, you watch a story of the original FF7. That way you can then play the remake and see all like the changes because they're doing like a new timeline thing. It's like, wait, what's going on? You freak out moving forward at Rebirth.
Gage just saw the next PXN News of the Week item and he's excited.
Oh, real quick, I also want to mention Nomura said that he is a little bit scared about how fans are going to perceive the ending of this game leading into part 3. He stops there, but it's like very cryptic. There's like a lot of theories of like, I've seen some people talk about like how part 2 will end at where the original one ends, and then the part 3 will be all new stuff, new timeline stuff. It's like not multiverse, but you know what I mean. There's various different theories being thrown out there, and having a comment like that will only feed those kind of like, oh, shit, what kind of ending are we expecting with Rebirth? Who knows?
Everyone dies.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Swag, including the player.
Yeah. It sends shocks through the DualShock.
DualSense explodes in your hand.
Yeah, DualSense.
Buy a new one.
Jim Ryan's America.
Incredible. All right. Our last news of the week item. Christian, take it away. Nightingale. What do we got?
Yeah, so Nightingale is a co-op survival PvE game that's coming out in, gosh, just a couple of days, just 2 weeks, I think. It's like the 19th or 20th. It's coming out in early access. I also found out it's coming out $30 US, I guess 40 Canadian, which is like very modestly priced and competitively priced with a lot of products, which I think was awesome. And I got to play it. I'm still playing it. I will be playing it more for work. And I am very pleasantly surprised by this game. The story stuff, like the pitch for this game, I thought was really cool. Magic was immersed in it takes place in alternate history of Earth. Magic was like immersed in the 1500s. The game takes place in 1889 after like a cataclysmic event that pushes all like the realm walkers, these little like realms that you go into. Everyone like escapes Earth. But then when everyone is escaping, something happens with the realm. So all like realm walkers gets pushed across the various realms, right? And so like the gist of the game is like you awake, and the game is like card based, where like if you want to travel to a new realm, you need a realm card, which will determine the biome, things like forest or desert or swamp, and you need a major card, which when you pair and the major card will like determine the kind of like things that you'll encounter in the world, whether it be like enemies or various like structures and stuff. So it's procedurally generated to an extent, but it's still, they've made stuff that is like, if you play these kinds of cards, you're going to get these type of experiences. So when you combine them, you go through a portal and you enter a new realm, and you can start to gather supplies and the typical survival crafting stuff that you're already familiar with. And so I started playing this, and you go through the tutorial. I'm like, okay, this feels like a survival game I'm already used to. And then once you get thrown into your first actual realm past the tutorial, it feels like I had a similar moment, maybe not quite to the degree I did with From Software, but I had a similar moment when you like see some of the stuff present in Elden Ring, being like, holy shit, what is this? And I'm finding those kinds of moments to a smaller scale throughout my so far like 3 hours with Nightingale, where I'm seeing creatures that are like, what the fuck is that? I've seen like spider trees and like these Cosmo giant antlers that are immune to my weapons, but then they got scared when they saw me and they like ran away, and on their way out went through a bunch of trees, and the trees like collapsed because of the physics, and I was able to gather the wood, and now I have a bunch of wood at my camp. And there's like all kinds of these little places that are, the more you explore and the more you upgrade, you can go through and kind of like experience these little like mini dungeons and do these little mini tasks. And it'll tell you once you find them on the map, you can see what kind of reward you would get for completing them. Even the weather effects I thought was like surprisingly really interesting. You have to worry about rain, because rain will then, the more rain that accumulates, the more wet you get, which will make adjustments to your like stamina, but also your rest. There's like two different little meters that you have to keep. But then when I was out there and trying to take shelter from the rain, it started hailing. And now when there's hail, I'm getting little like minute chips to my
Your health.
what do you call it?
Oh.
My health. Thank you. But I wasn't able to craft an umbrella yet to take shelter from that while I explore. So I'm having to run across and find these little like structures. But then like these like demon things came out while I'm trying to take shelter. It's a lot of fun. And then I came across like a lot of NPCs as well that are like purposely put there. They're like handcrafted little like side quests you can do with these people. Like there's like voiceover with some of these. And then you can also hire NPCs to help you out in the wild 6-player multiplayer survival, which is cool. But if you're playing alone, you can also hire people to play with you. And I am continuously pretty surprised with like how fresh Nightingale feels in the survival genre. I have to play more for work, but I'm kind of excited to discover what else I can find out there. It's pretty cool.
Are you expecting this? Oh, go ahead.
Also, very nice to have a game where when you are encumbered, because it's survival, you have an inventory. Very cool to like open up your map and you can just hit a button to teleport you back to your shelter if you are encumbered. That way,
Yes.
it's like, okay, fuck, I have way too many things on me. I'm in near a place, but I don't want to drop the things I have on me. Just teleport back, open up your chest, put your stuff in there, and you will have to go back, but it's just way easier to not have to worry about that kind of stuff.
What was I going to say? I don't know if you're allowed to say based on the preview, but how do you think this is going to do when it comes out? Do you think it's this month, right? February 20th?
Yeah, but it's early access. I think it will do well with the people who are interested in survival games, because it's so unique with the things it's doing with the realms. Like if it didn't have that, I'm not sure. Maybe how? Okay, it's kind of tough because I haven't seen everything the game has to offer with so far. But what they're doing with like the handcrafted stuff within the procedural world, I think is really cool so far, and being so unique with the realm stuff and more magic that I think is introduced later on, I think is going to give this game more life than what I originally thought.
Yeah. Ooh, it sounds cool. I like it. I
So
searched it up when you were talking about it.
This is a dangerous time for me to live in. Too many survival games coming out that all look really good.
and Power World's your favorite, right?
No.
Just kidding.
No.
No.
I do want to mention the character creation is actually pretty sick. There's the typical stuff where you can choose your class, like starting class kind of thing. They're pretty interesting. What I found wild that I haven't seen in a game before is once you're done customizing your character, you can then open up your ancestry. So you can look at your mom and your dad, your grandparents, your great grandparents, and then your great great grandparents, and you can assign them all different presets. So that then you can go down another layer and look at your heritage. I think it's heritage. And they're like these it's like a 4 X and Y axis kind of slider, and you can move around, and whoever you've chosen as your like lineage will inform the kind of face that your character has, but just by moving around the slider. I just played around with that for like 5 minutes. Like, this is kind of cool. I haven't seen this before.
Cool. Yeah.
Interesting. You were influencing future generations by a slider.
I made my eyes bigger.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's our news of the week, gents. And we don't have a fantasy draft check-in this week because there's no new additions. However, Helldivers 2, I think, Christian, you said is going to be getting reviewed later this week. So I'm sure we'll have that next week.
Great. Good.
Who has that on their fantasy draft? I forget who picked it up.
You know who has it on your fucking fantasy draft.
I don't. I'm legit asking. I don't know who picked this up.
You.
Good.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up, dude.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm getting nervous now. Seeing you and Ro get all these points, I'm nervous. Me and Gage haven't even scratched the surface at this point.
Just waiting for your games to come out.
Well, I had one come out, but, it's only 17 points, Doesn't match your guys' 20. All right. Moving into what you got for me. Daniel, what you got for me? I am still a piece of shit, and I've still just played Halo. So here I am another week. I've only played Halo. I'm still loving it, still enjoying it. I do want to say that there was a really cool fucking pack that came out yesterday for the new year or whatever. There's a specific new year, and that's escaping my mind.
Chinese Lunar Year?
Yeah, yes. And it is fucking sick. Like, there's a little animated dragon that is an armor effect that goes around your shoulder. It looks so cool. But yes, it is in the shop, so you got to pay money for that. But, it looks very cool. So yeah, Halo. Ro, what you got for me?
This week I have 2 games. One, my girlfriend came over and we played Overcooked together.
Oh, yes.
That was my first time playing Overcooked, but she...
No way.
It was my first time playing it, but she's a pro, so she was like very like teaching me how to do the earlier levels, and then like, we're not moving on to the next one until we get 3 stars. So I had to... I couldn't...
So she knows what's up. She knows what's up. She's not playing around.
I did not. So she was like very patient, but sometimes like just laughing hysterically. This game is awesome. I wish I had played it sooner. And then I played Overcooked 2 at her house the other day, but this one's really good. This is really good, and I've been sleeping on it for far too long. But it's a good one. I don't know if there's not really much to say. I'm sure all you guys are familiar with Overcooked. I just wanted to bring it up because I can't believe I've waited this long to play it.
I'm surprised that you've it must have just been like coincidental timing because I'm pretty sure the last few times that you've hung out with me and I've had like a bunch of people over, Overcooked is we always get into it at some point. I'm just wondering if it's usually after you end up leaving, because I'm pretty sure last time we did end up playing it. But I'm so glad that you've gotten into this. It's such a great game. It's so good.
It's so good. Yeah. Next time I'm over, I definitely want to play it with you guys. I'm always there for Mario Kart and Smash Bros, but I miss Overcooked.
Yeah, when you have 4 people screaming at each other, it gets intense.
And who
You're
won?
pretty much just acting out the bear.
Who won the Mario Kart and Smash Brothers?
Oh, here we go.
Glenn won Mario Kart. Glenn won Mario Kart.
Wash the fucking dishes, Gage. Give me a plate. I need a plate. The rice is burning.
Oh God. Yeah. The other one that I was playing is Persona 3 Reload, which I want to also mention that Wario 64 just mentioned that it sold over 1 million copies in its first week, which is making it the fastest selling Atlas game, which also maybe they should do this more often where it's on multiple platforms, which they don't do very often. Persona 5 was a PlayStation exclusive for I don't know how long. It only just recently came to the Xbox a couple of years ago. And Nintendo has a bunch of... Anyways, I digress. I hope they continue doing this more, so more people get to play them, because I'm loving it a lot. Persona 3, I have never played. I played Persona 4, played Persona 5, but I never played 3, so this is the perfect time for me to play it with the remake, and it's really great so far. It's more Persona. If you're familiar with it, you know the deal. Christian, yes.
Keep going. After.
But yeah, so you're going through these dungeons, killing all the monsters, and when you kill the monsters, their cards show up, And once you get a card, you get to choose either XP, get a new persona, or items or something. And the persona, your character can wield multiple ones, and they have different attacks that beat up the enemies, of course. But the whole point of persona is usually to those social links and those characters, and that's really why I enjoy it so much, is just getting to know the different characters in the game and progressing in the story. And the game encourages you to talk to different characters because each character has a particular element, I guess, that's linked to the personas that you collect. And the more you talk to them, the stronger your personas get. So, for example, if you talk to a certain guy who has a fool element and you talk to him more and more and more, the more you get closer to that character, the stronger your persona will get. So when you're in the battles, that helps a lot from the outside world as well. So yeah, that's having a good time with them. Still pretty early on, but I've been introduced to a couple of fun characters so far. So excited to play more.
Christian? The street meet for Persona that I forgot to write in or include here is that Atlas is reportedly working on 3 Persona games, a remaster or of some kind with Persona 4, I believe, P4G, a remake of Persona 2, and then of course working on Persona 6. So more Persona coming in the future.
Hell yeah. I would love a remake of Persona 4 in this new style. That would be awesome. They did like a Persona 5 Royal for Persona 5 Royal for Persona 4 with Golden, because Persona 4 was like a PS2 game or something. I don't know. But yeah, it would be cool to if they continue that, because I like with me with Persona 3, I don't think everybody has played those games, especially the early ones like 2 and 1. So that'd be really cool.
And of course, Glenn's here in the chat row, and he says that game is chaos, referring to Overcooked.
Overcooked, yes. Oh god.
Christian, what you got for me?
Yeah, a lot of things this week. I guess I should just start mentioning like new video essay up. I guess
Sure.
This one about like what defines a Souls like. Let's analyze that definition in the hottest game, the best Souls like game, Lies of P. So I got into it for 30 minutes and just chilled. I tied myself up to my ceiling using yarn. I was a puppet on camera. I also sat down and played Silent Hill, the Silent Message, the free game that released after last week's State of Play. Not a long experience. Like, I think how long to beat varies between an hour and a half to about 3 hours, depending on your play style and how quickly you get through the segments. I was kind of anti getting this game for a while, and I was seeing stuff on Twitter like this game is pro suicide. This is so, why would they do this? And you play the game for like 10 minutes. It's very much not pro suicide at all. I don't know where people were getting that from. I can't believe I almost fell for that. I don't think it's as bad as everyone is making it out to be. It's still not good because it's messy. It is really messy. But there's like an earnest attempt at like, okay, how do we make a Silent Hill game that's like taking everything from recent horror games on like trauma, but apply that to like what people are going through now, especially like younger people with like cyberbullying and the internet and like trying to find your place in a world that is like hyper capitalistic.
Right.
And the place it takes place in like is this like German town that was trying to reinvigorate itself, and the government spent a lot of money to like do that. But then the 2008 financial crisis happened, and suddenly for whatever reason like affected this town, so they couldn't do the projects they were wanting to do. They stopped the projects, and once they started doing that again, COVID-19 happened, and they had to put a stop to all these projects. So now like there's like mass unemployment, and a lot of like buildings are empty because people either can't afford to live there or they have to move away. It's like, that's actually like pretty on the nose with our current climate. That's actually like a pretty cool concept. It's just like the way they explore trauma and it is maybe not as good as you would kind of hope they would do it, but still, I was surprised by it. I think I overall enjoyed playing it, and it's free. And the developers are open for feedback, so it's like, okay, sure. Similar to Ro, I also have been playing a game with my girlfriend. We started up It Takes Two. And turns out that game is fucking awesome.
It is good.
It's really good.
Continuously surprisingly creative in the ways I would not expect. Like they really upped what they can do after A Way Out. Like I was not expecting me enjoying this game as much as I am. And there is like a weirdness where it's like we're playing some of these missions and I will feel myself get less patient because like her platforming skills aren't, as good. I've been playing games for too fucking long.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm turning into the fucking people that are like in the game because like it's a game about a couple who are like bickering, and then like moments later you like are starting to get back to the sweetness of it. It's like, I'm kind of mirroring these characters, which I'm finding interesting, but it's also really fucking fun. Shoot, what is IL? The fuck is IL? I wrote IL here. I don't even know what that means. Oh, I was on a horror binge, so I was like, okay, let's boot up something that's going to like piggyback off of like Silent Hill: A Short Message. And I've heard a lot of good things about Iron Lung. This is like an hour-long game that you can buy on like Humble Bundle, whatever, on Steam. It's like a couple of bucks. The premise of the game is like, what's that HBO show where everyone disappears?
Oh, frick, I know what you're talking about.
The Leftovers. Thank you.
Oh,
it's similar concept where all
another show.
There's maybe two shows.
Sorry. It's similar concept to The Leftovers, but like on a universal scale, where like all hospitable planets in the universe suddenly are like wiped out of existence, and it's called the Quiet Rapture. Years late, and only people that have survived are like people who were like on like space colonies and like various other places that are not like on these planets specifically.
Right.
So now, like years later, people are having to like worry about how to. The human population is dying. It's like, okay, well, how do you like survive in there, right? Well, a moon is discovered that is made up of an entirely like an ocean of blood, and you have like you're tasked with you're a convict who is tasked with exploring this planet to see what the fuck this moon is. Only that the submarine that you're put in isn't made to withstand the depths that you have to go to, so you're welded shut, like the real world Titanic incident. You're welded shut, even including the windows, and the only way you can see outside is by having to get up, turn around, and walk to the back of the submarine and click a button to press for the camera that's in front of your ship. And the only map you're given has coordinates for the places you're supposed to go, but not where you're at. The only way you know where you're at is by looking at your X and your Y coordinate on the ship and being like, okay, I'm here and then here, and I have to go there. So I have to angle my ship this way. It's fucking terrifying. It's so fucking scary being underneath that ocean of blood and hearing the things that you hear out there. And just a cool hour-long experience that like will probably turn into some kind of video for me later on. I'm talking too long, so I'll just move on to. I also booted up and played the first 2 hours of Death Stranding Director's Cut just to get those vibes again and can confirm. Still a really cool opening. I'm done. Thank you.
Oh yeah, the show that I was thinking of was The Outsider. I thought that was what you were talking.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I actually added that show that you guys were talking about, that you were referencing, so to my list. I have a long list of shows to watch here, so we'll see. Gage, what you got for me?
I decided to pick up The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I am one of the people that already owned The Last of Us Part 2, so it was only, I think it came to like $16.99 Canadian because of Canadian rubles. So, yeah, booted it up. I just jumped into no return mode because that's obviously the main new kind of thing with it, and it's okay. It's fun. I'm one of those people that have even with the first game, when the first game came out and there was that it's hard to remember back then, but like at the time people were kind of like dogging on it for its gameplay. Since then everybody's come around to like, oh yeah, The Last of Us Part 1 is just an amazing, incredible game, which is how it always should have been. But I've always loved The Last of Us gameplay. I've always been like, hey, this isn't supposed to be Uncharted. This is this is among, games like Resident Evil and survival horror, and for those types of game, this plays extremely well and is fast and fluid. So I've always loved the gameplay. So No Return, definitely, I thought was interesting, an interesting concept. But playing it's I don't know, it's okay. The environments that you play in are very, very small, very, very small environments. It's not like you're playing some of the big, more open ones from the campaign. And all it did was kind of make me want to play through the campaign again. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait for the inevitable, probably 2024 PC release. I'm hoping to jump back into that. So No Return is kind of cool. Obviously, the first thing I did was immediately do all the things I needed to do to unlock playing as Joel, and so I just like speed run these like really small like half runs just with all these different characters because you get there's a whole progression track, so I could finally play as Joel, and it's kind of frustrating because they did what I wanted them to do with The Last of Us Part 1, which is just use Abby's animations for Joel. And I was like, why didn't you guys do that with The Last of Us Part 1 so that we could have all the cool new features in The Last of Us Part 1 from The Last of Us Part... whatever. It's stupid. It makes me angry. But yeah, it does feel cool to play as Joel and hear his voice lines again as you're running around killing zombies or the WLF or whoever. But yeah, I don't know if I would recommend anyone buy this game just for No Return though. It's especially from what I've heard from Ragnarok Valhalla and how they use that game mode to kind of actually tell a story. I mean, it's definitely not like, this is your high score for regretting the cycle of violence. Can you beat it? Like, it doesn't add anything to the narrative of the game. It's really just a kind of slap together roguelite mode. But if you really, really, really love the gameplay, you might get something more out of it. But I love the gameplay and I thought it was okay. So
when playing it, did this ever cross? So my question is, let me just ask the question: do you, after playing it, are you happy that maybe they aren't doing faction anymore, or are you like more disappointed that they're not doing factions anymore?
No,
how this is.
It's good that you bring up that question because Dan and I were talking about this. I don't think I mentioned to Dan that I had played it, but I think I was talking to Dan after I had already played this, and I was sitting there playing it, and I was like, man, if they had just taken an extra year or two on this remastered, even if they only offered the same things that's in this, if they had taken an extra year or two and even just managed to make it 2-player, there would be something here. There would really be something here because they have different game modes for the when you do the runs. They're called encounters. So it's like, you complete an encounter, you go back to your hub world, you do upgrades, and then you do another encounter. And they have different encounters that you can have where there's one where it's like there's just enemies wandering the map and they're kind of oblivious and you can take that encounter however you want to. There's one where it continuously spawns in enemies that know where you are, so it's more of like a defensive action one. But then they have one where it's you and an AI teammate, and like it doesn't really change anything. It's just now it's the same encounter as before, except you have an AI with you. And I couldn't help but sitting there playing that. Like, if they had just taken some of that tech from that Naughty Dog game, which I'm sure was built in the same engine, because it's not, I mean, like, they're trying to have some sort of quality control for it. If they had just made it 2-player, I think it would have been incredible. And so that's the connection to the factions game, where it's like, I wish they had just, instead of throwing everything into the garbage like they did, they had tried to figure something out. Because if I was able to boot this up with you, Ro, or like with Dan or with Christian, you'd at least have some level of like being able to dick around and goof around with people, and like maybe you get grabbed by a clicker and I have to run over and save you. Like, there's at least that element. But so far it was just like, hey, how about all of the smallest encounters in the game without any of the narrative consequence or like dramaticism, and then you're playing it and you realize like this. I don't want to be playing. There's really no reason for me to be playing this right now.
Like I love the gameplay. Sorry, Christian. I love the gameplay and the combat of The Last of Us, but stripping away the reason that I'm having to do those things doesn't sound like it would be super fun. I say that enjoying factions, but it's because you were fighting other people and having to do the coordination, and there's more to factions than just the combat. And just like there's more to The Last of Us than just the combat, the story is what made swinging that bat hit so much harder than if you're just doing it for like you're saying, the revenge points or whatever, however you described it. But yeah, that's kind of sad.
And there's another thing. There's another thing that I think, Rashan, that you're not even thinking about. Something that I realized why the roguelite doesn't work, is that even forgetting the narrative, like the compelling narrative and all those reasons why you're playing the game, the survival aspect, the survival horror aspect of this game, with the collecting resources, it really only works when it's drawn over a long period of time. Like when you're playing the campaign and you've got, especially with The Last of Us Part 2, you've got 25, 30 hours ahead of you. It really makes sense that I'm grinding and searching for all these things and doing all these upgrades. But like in the roguelite, it really doesn't transfer. Like after like maybe 4 or 5 encounters, I was like, I don't really want to run around and grab shit. Like I'll just melee everybody. Like there's no real reason to do all these crafting upgrades, because the second I'm done this run, I start over with a new character, and it's just so that also the time period at which you are playing this game, I think really impacts the amount of enjoyment you're going to have, and that doesn't have it with the roguelite. It's just not there.
I ran the gamut in my head with one thing you said, and I'm gonna run it through with you guys. When Gage said like co-op experience, if this would have been like some kind of co-op experience, how cool would it have been? Made me think about Modern Warfare 2 and Battlefield 3 when they had their own dedicated co-op side activities with like Spec Ops and Modern Warfare 2, and then the co-op missions in Battlefield 3, which I enjoyed both of those. Is it like the main piece to the resistance of both respective games? No, but like, is there merit to like those experiences to share with somebody? I think yes is my answer.
Yeah.
So having something like that in part 2 remastered, if they were going to do something beyond just the single player roguelike experience, which by Gage standards is maybe falls short, I think would have just gone a longer way to get more people to try out something that is more akin to like the Valhalla, where it's like a more of a unique experience. I think it's something but that led me to like my final thought, which was, man, how cool would it have been to have like a dedicated experience from Naughty Dog where you are doing more like co-op, like long tail missions with The Last of Us Part 2, like having more engagement throughout all these like individual sections. And then that got me to the final thing, which was, well, really, if you're going that far to develop something, how much of a shame is it that like what could have been factions with the kind of what was supposed to be the extraction shooter type thing with elements of like a single player experience? How cool would that have been? I think that like that it is a shame that it was totally canceled and not just dialed back to some capacity.
Right. And to your point, I think after playing No Return, if they had just had, because they try to do like a procedural thing where it's like they mix the enemies and maybe the modifiers and the encounters to come up with this sort of like, oh, it could be anything, but it's like really there's only certain preset kind of things it could be. But like if No Return was just a mode where it had like 5 or 6 missions that were the same every time, and you would just like akin to, I'm thinking of exactly Modern Warfare 2's Special Ops, where it's like these are the missions, and you just play them with your buddy to try to get 3 stars and try to complete them fastest or get the highest score, and they're just the same missions every time. That would be a much more like fruitful and meaningful offer than what No Return currently is. So I would actually rather take like even like 3 or 4 preset missions that are the same every time, but you play them with your buddy and you try and get the highest score over what we got currently.
Sure.
Shout out to Splinter Cell Conviction for having a really cool co-op mode
Yes.
alongside the story. That was awesome.
Yes. And like Christian said, these are not the main attractions of any of those games, but
Right.
I actually remember my experience with those modes sometimes more than like the actual main offering.
Yeah.
So like a really good co-op mode can add a lot to the replayability and the longevity of your game. Absolutely. Splinter Cell Conviction was incredible. What a shout out.
When I think of Modern Warfare 2, I think about like the one of the final missions in Spec Ops, which is kill 15 juggernauts in favela.
Right.
That's like me and my cousin forever, but we got it done. Damn.
Some of those cool Overwatch missions too, where you have your buddy in the helicopter and the guy on the ground, and you're trying to tell your buddy where he needs to go and all, like just fun stuff. Yeah.
You said Overwatch, and at first I pictured Overwatch, and then I'm like, oh, you mean like Overwatch from a helicopter / AC-130, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. All right. Moving in to the topic of the show, guys. The state of Xbox. Here we are. We're asking some questions. Will Xbox go third party? We'll ask those questions here in a little bit. But first, let's go over a couple of things here. Some European retailers are apparently no longer selling physical Xbox games. Of course, there's already some in the US, like Best Buy, that have stopped selling physical media.
Boo.
Yeah. Yes. According to GameIndustry.biz's Christopher Dring, he said that he had heard that sales of physical games for the console are so low that retailers have decided to stop stocking the products. I got told by a major publisher just before Christmas that across Europe, several retailers have started not listing Xbox anymore, said Dring. So they've started not stocking Xbox games anymore. Xbox is such a digital console. The physical performance of games is really low. And ultimately, when you're selling a console that most people are just downloading games for, it doesn't really benefit the retailer very much. So some very low sales, apparently, is what's causing this, I guess. Maybe the Game Pass effect as well.
I was gonna say that has to be compounded with Game Pass, where most people are getting their games via that way, subscription, instead of buying them via hardware, which isn't maybe not entirely true. Like there are some cases where once a game leaves Game Pass, sometimes like you'll see a spike in sales of that game, or it's all that stuff is like maybe on the side or exception of. But yeah, I think you're mostly right. It has to be some kind of Game Pass effect.
Indeed. Kirik says our Best Buy still sells physical. That's interesting. And of course, Ro, you told us that.
Not for long, Kirik.
Yeah. Ro, you told us that you went to one, right?
Yeah. I went to my local one the other day to get a newer mic, and they were all gone.
All gone.
It looks so weird in there. It's like I don't even know what they replaced the stuff with. Obviously, they filled the space that all the DVDs were with. There was like printers and TVs.
Yeah, I was gonna say washing machines and shit.
Yeah, a lot more TVs and appliances, like you're saying in there. It's like,
Yeah.
no one's gonna come to Best Buy to buy a washer, but if you say so.
Yeah.
Late stage capitalism, boys. Let's go.
Hell yeah. Old people. Let's do it.
They'll go to like a fucking Lowe's or something for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Home Depot, whatever.
Home Depot. Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the meat of it here, Phil has broken his silence, and I'm sure everyone's heard the buzz and whatever else words you want to come up with. That's just the one that I came up with. I know it's not a word, so at me. Rumors have pointed to an event that was supposed to happen in the spring, apparently, and now will happen next week, according to Phil Spencer. This is in response to all of the crazy news that we're going to talk about here in a second, all the rumors and speculation. And Phil says, we're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned. So Phil's making us wait another week to hear what the hell is going on. Of course, every single person under the sun is speculating on the internet right now, and there's tons of rumors out there. But let's go ahead and dive into those rumors so we have some context here. So, of course, we already knew that Hi-Fi Rush was already rumored to be going to PlayStation and Switch, which I think is pretty much a guarantee at this point. We've seen the...
And Steam, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or Steam,
Yeah.
Epic, PC platforms.
Yeah.
I think Hi-Fi Rush is on Steam already.
Is it? Yeah.
I think
Maybe
it
not
is,
Epic, but I think it's on
Was
Steam.
Epic? Sorry, yeah, Epic. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so they have exclusive t-shirts that have already leaked with PlayStation, Switch, and Epic or Steam, whatever designs. So yeah, I think that's pretty much a given. We've already talked about that one. But we also got news this week as well, or rumors that Indiana Jones is being considered to be brought to PS5. This is from Tom Warren on Twitter. He said several months after the Xbox and PC release, and it's part of Xbox's new strategy inside of Microsoft that's emerging. So the domino started with Indiana Jones, and it continued to roll down the hill here as we will get back to Indiana Jones and such, but I was just kind of going to lay out all of the ones we've heard and then go from there. The next one we heard spiraled is Starfield is possibly headed for PlayStation 5 as well, which they're saying that the report is accurate. This is from Nate the Hate on Twitter, which is, I guess he's a known leaker or, whatever. But he says the report is accurate. Starfield will land on PlayStation. I've heard similar, but opted to wait on reporting this information until the PlayStation 5 release timeline was finalized. As the report states, the PS5 release will come after the arrival of the expansion DLC on Xbox and PC. Yes, so there's that rumor as well. Then we got more rumors coming out that said that Microsoft is reportedly looking at bringing Gears of War to PS5, a big IP. Then we started to get, in my opinion, into people picking needles out of haystacks, I think. And I will gladly admit that I'm wrong if I'm wrong next week, but I think this was very much a stretch. People started saying, "Oh, Halo now is coming, like Halo Infinite specific, or the next Halo game, not Halo Infinite specifically, will be coming to PlayStation," because in their job posting they have a line that says the next game will be for all players on all platforms. So I think that was taken out of context because the job posting is, in my eyes, just saying like all platforms that Xbox, that they release on. Like, it's not like 3/4. They're not going to announce this in a job posting like this. That doesn't. I don't know. That doesn't add up to me. I think that's more people grasping at straws for that one.
That's a weird thing to say at all, though.
It is
Posting.
because
it is weird. Yeah.
But because there's so many consoles now, like because they release on Steam, they release on Windows Store, they release on Series S and X,
Cloud,
Cloud,
they're on Nvidia's streaming service, right? Yeah, exactly. So I could see it both ways. It is odd though. It's definitely odd.
Yeah. We'll see though. We'll see. We'll get to that in a minute, but that's not meaning that my comments there doesn't mean that I don't want Halo on other platforms. I think that would be awesome, but anywho. Next, literally everything I said, because we just kept getting fucking rumors. Literally, I feel like every day I opened it up and someone's like, almost the same news story. This game is being considered for PlayStation. And this is where it starts to get a little bit unclear to me, like what is actually rumored and like what is being discussed. And I think I had a conversation on Monday with Elijah on his podcast about it. And like my thoughts on it. And I know you wrote Hellblade here, Christian. I think you wrote that, or maybe.
Yeah, I was just trying to include more stuff that I'd seen.
I gotcha. Yes. So like my thoughts on this are that we continued to see literally everything under the sun of the Xbox IP be rumored to be coming to all these platforms. I feel like because this event was scheduled for the spring, I don't feel like that they had a solidified plan yet, and they were still internally discussing what games were going to be multi-platform and what games were not. So like that's why we're getting a massive barrage of like this game's rumored, this one, because like I'm sure that they hadn't made that decision, is what I'm assuming. And then now this week has turned into, I'm sure, fucking red alert, where they're like, we got to figure out what we're doing, and then next week we got to announce it, or at least that's the impression I got from it. I don't know if you guys got the same impression or not.
Yeah, so I think the first issue one is that like unfortunate. Dan's running away.
It's gone.
I need him here to respond in some capacity. I'm just gonna wait till he gets back.
Sure.
From letting Buck do something. Maybe Buck was outside and he come back in.
I'm back, Dad.
Yeah, he's trying to. Buck is curious. What's Dad doing?
Sorry, I had to let him in.
Yeah. I think for me the issue was twofold. One is that like it's a leak. Like no matter what, it's unfortunate. Like Microsoft is then positioned in a place where like they can't say anything because the official event wasn't even planned, right?
Yeah.
So like I've seen a few folks in the industry talk about like how like it sucks that they're like Microsoft is having to play defense again, but it's like, what do you want them to do? What can they do? It's a leak, right? So official word on that like is going to just run the gamut now online of like people just like, oh, doom and gloom and everything is like not okay. The Xbox house is burning down, and then just things start to spiral. That's just unfortunate and happens with leaks and rumors. I think the other thing was that like the initial leaks though were from like high profile places like your Jeff Grubbs and your Windows Centrals and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, so even if it's not the case, they're like, okay, maybe the next Halo game isn't coming, right? But maybe some of the games listed from these high profile people might be true. And some of the games on there were like pretty, obviously Hi-Fi Rush, sure. But then you have games like Sea of Thieves. I would assume that's another safe one. But like Microsoft Flight Sim, again, cool. But then games like MCC, that one to me feels a bit more questionable. But like you can also make the argument like why that would make sense to make that one available in other places. So I'll just stop there.
Yeah, totally fair. Gage your road. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Gage is hungry.
What was the prompt?
The prompt was, so all these rumors, were getting a ton of rumors left and right. And like I just said that I took that as they didn't really have their plan together yet. So like they don't know actually what games were going to be multi-platform yet. And they're still kind of figuring that part out. So like that was my thoughts on it.
Right. Well, I think the correct stance, there's a right answer to this, which is wait until you hear official word from Xbox, right? Like, obviously, we don't know. With that being said, you can, like, there's a lot of evidence. There's no proof that this is happening, because proof means, like, oh, Xbox has come out and said that this is what's happening. But evidence, there's lots of evidence to suggest that they want to go third, not that they want to break down the walls of exclusivity. The CEO of Microsoft has said this time and time again, especially a lot during the FTC debacle.
Sata.
And then Phil Spencer, CEO of Xbox, has also said these things. So that, in combination with what Christian said, which is that these didn't come from some random people, these came from like pretty prolific journalists. You put all that together, and there's clearly something going on. There's clearly something happening at Xbox in terms of a shift in their strategy when it comes to exclusivity and where their games launch. I'm with Dan. Like, I, as a longtime Halo fan, I would love for more people to get their hands on it. And then so if I love Halo, then obviously I would feel similar to a lot of these other games I don't really have an attachment to. So I don't mind this happening. I think there does need to be a clear messaging to fans on what happens with the Xbox ecosystem, because while it's not smart or advisable to panic based off of this, because again, nothing's been said from Xbox, if Xbox does start signaling that they are shifting away from, say, like things like hardware and software, I think there is some concern for people like me who have been like I've had my Xbox account since I was like fucking 10 years old, and I've got like, I know Dan, you're the same way. Like, you've got tons of history on there. So there is cause for concern if this business event comes out and it says that they are maybe signaling going that way, because obviously I don't want Xbox to support to end anytime soon. And with the way that physical media is going and stuff like that, like, I mean, I understand the concern. I definitely understand the concern. And I will say that Phil Spencer's response to all this was also, like, maybe not the best choice of words. Like, he didn't come out and say, hey guys, these are unfounded rumors, make sure you don't pay attention to anything, wait for official word from Xbox. He didn't say any of that. He said, we're listening and we hear you. That was a little bit concerning. It's not the best choice of words.
And I think that again kind of is why I think that they just didn't know yet what the fuck they're gonna do, because that to me comes off very much like, well, fuck, what do I say? Because I don't even know what we're doing yet. Like, I don't know. Bro, do you have any thoughts?
Most of my stuff is I think I want to say for this part with I have more Game Pass.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Things that I want
Yeah, Martha's there.
Let's dive into that part then. some Microsoft leadership are reportedly not happy with the decision, according to who was it?
Xbox era.
Was it what the heck? I clicked on it and it took me to the wrong. I think I have the wrong link.
This is Starfield.
Yep, that's the wrong link. Anyways, yes, there was reports that there was some Microsoft leadership that were not happy with the decision and were basically voicing their concerns about it. And there was people on both sides, I guess, of the decision between, keeping all first party content or, going third party with at least some of the content. So that interesting question was pegged as well as what is the effect if Microsoft were to go fully third party? And Andy Robinson on Twitter says, don't think the rumored Xbox multi-platform shift is entirely good news for PlayStation owners. SIE is complacent enough as it is. Imagine the hubris if it has no competitors, which is a fair question. Of course, we know Jim Ryan and many of his policies that he's had, and he's made some decisions that are pretty questionable. But I guess the question is, do you guys think that this decision, if it does come to fruition, do you think it negatively affects Xbox as a company? And like, what do you guys think that does to their hardware side of things? Like, do you think that the hardware of Xbox goes away?
I am glad you said that, the hardware side, because I think you said it really well on Twitter and a little bit into Elijah's discussion, where it's like, well, the primary focus for this is like shareholder side. Like Microsoft is its focus isn't with hardware sales specifically. It's about like nice. Sorry, just to launch that thing. Where was I going? It's with software sales, obviously, like we've been seeing that for the past couple of years, and profit, and seemingly getting your games everywhere is a net positive for getting more sales, which means more revenue, but also gets more games to more people, which I think is genuinely, like, I think people agree is usually a good thing. But like the hardware question is so interesting because it's really the answer is like, who knows? You can't really predict which way it'll go, but you can like speculate and worry about like, well, you start worrying about like, well, what would be the reasons to buy Xbox products? Like, if it is true, then like more games that are exclusive we assume we're going to be exclusive to Xbox, but now then coming to other platforms. Well, then like, what is the general consumer going to be buying then in that regard? Like, are they going to buy the box that can play Spider-Man and Halo, or the one that just plays Halo and not Spider-Man? You would think that maybe they would lean towards the latter, right? Or I guess the former in that regard. So it's like, okay, there would be less reasons to buy Xboxes, but like, again, I don't know if I want to go that far because we also don't know what the exact strategy is, and it could go any which way. Right. And it's also like they wouldn't be going away overnight either. Like if that happens, it's like years and years and years from now, and not like anytime soon.
Yeah, that was my point to Elijah on Monday as well. Was I don't see it happening in the next 10 years. Like I think we'll have a next gen Xbox console, which then that will last 6 or 7 years or whatever. So yeah, I agree with you on that as well. And like we've seen Microsoft shift as a company where they care more about software and services side of things than they do of the hardware side of things. However, I also think that, their hardware side of things don't necessarily have to be super profitable. Like, for instance, a great example is their Surface division. The Surface tablet, which is it's a pretty high-end unit, a very niche unit. It does not sell that well for Microsoft. They don't make much money from that thing. They generate a ton of revenue from it because it's a high price, but they don't make much profit. And the reason why they do that is because they make up for it on the software services side of things. So like, I think there's still an argument to be made that even if your games or some of your games go multi-platform, you still have an allure to your console, which is Game Pass, which you're getting day and date games day one on the console included, and you're also getting into the ecosystem, I guess, that you've already been accustomed to. So obviously, me owning an Xbox for so many years, I have hundreds of games that I own digitally on there that would just vanish if I just decided to sell my Xbox, for instance. But maybe we get to a point one day where I don't need the Xbox and I can access those games from other devices.
Right.
I think it's also important to note that this is just like we're a lot of people are like blindly assuming PlayStation would even want a lot of these games on their
Right.
platform while Microsoft is continuing to make consoles at all, because why would they want Xbox branding on their console?
That's
if you look
another
at
good
games
point.
like if you look at games like Fortnite, when you're playing with people on other consoles and you're playing on a PlayStation, you cannot see what other consoles people are playing on. The icon will not show up. But if you're playing on a different non-PlayStation platform, I can see that the other person is playing on a Switch console or a PC or Xbox or whatever. Like, they don't want branding from competitors on their own console. So it's hard to imagine games that would like splash a giant Microsoft Game Studios splash screen at the beginning to be playable on a PlayStation. Then that is just like the hubris from PlayStation. I don't think would allow that to even happen now.
And that's an insanely great point, because they could literally just put something in the game that says like, this is included in Game Pass on Xbox, or like some kind of marketing to get people at least to think about, getting the other platform.
Switching over.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I think I'll just save it. Never mind. I'll save it for the next one. Never mind.
You're gonna save it?
Yeah, I'm gonna save it. Sorry, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gage, do you have anything you want to talk? Anything? No. You're giving me that look like, Dan, why'd you say my name right now?
Is this the next one? That last bit?
Yeah, I think that's
because this is insane from people.
Yes, I want to hear. I want to see it. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
I'm waiting for.
If that's the next one, I will say what I was going.
Okay.
Gonna
Yes.
say.
Yes.
With what Christian was saying with it being hard to believe seeing the Xbox branding on PlayStation, especially now, I totally agree with that. But when I was thinking about with if they come out of this and they quote unquote won, like how Andy was saying, like Xbox isn't making consoles anymore, they're just doing third party, they're making games. I could see them doing that, and I started imagining what Game Pass might look like in a world like that, where they're just doing Game Pass and they're just making games, where they make Xbox Game Pass for PlayStation and Xbox Game Pass for Nintendo Switch, where it's hard to imagine PlayStation playing nice and Nintendo even playing nice in those types of situations. But I can imagine how that would benefit Xbox so well to have that on multiple platforms to help sell their games. And if PlayStation and Nintendo wants to play nice in those situations, they could have like older Nintendo games. Like I think a Xenoblade 2 could be on Xbox Game Pass for Nintendo, and maybe an older PlayStation game could be on obviously never going to be day and date Nintendo games on a subscription. And same with PlayStation when they also have their PlayStation Plus offering. But I don't know. I just got to thinking that like if they do end up going third party, I can definitely see that benefiting them in the long run. And just this year they talked about how much gaming contributed at Microsoft, how it was ahead of Windows. And it was behind Office, but it's like 7.11 billion, which is a lot of money. And for them to be thinking about not doing the hardware side of things is surprising with how well it seems to be doing. And if they're planning to pivot with that is how much they're making, it's I just assume that they're going to do it whatever will make them more money, and that in my mind would make them a lot of money.
Right. Almost like the Square Enix thing, where it's like this isn't considered successful at this point. Like you guys are
right, yeah.
You guys like you're bringing in more revenue than Windows, which is like the global operating system of the entire world.
And that's the problem with a big corporation like Microsoft, because they're always just going to want more money.
More,
that is the problem of a big company like that. And like the other thing we didn't talk about is like my Xbox also talked about wanting a mobile store for phones like Apple and Google, which currently it's not something that they could even do even if they wanted to because of them not allowing it. But I know in the EU they've started allowing certain things with, as we talked about, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, to open up stores like that. So maybe eventually one day there will be an Xbox store on your phone, and maybe that looks different because, 10 years from now, gaming could look completely different than what it does now with how fast mobile technology keeps evolving. Maybe, phones get to the point where they're just playing these insane looking games.
Right.
But the last piece I wanted to cover here, which is just absurd that I have to cover this, but apparently it's a big deal because people are freaking out, and like this is the problem with fanboys in general, both on all sides of fanboyism. But although not yet officially confirmed, reports have led to a major backlash within the Xbox community, including from notable Xbox influencers with large followings who are unhappy that games previously marketed as Xbox exclusives will be made available on other console platforms. Number one, who the fuck cares if it's like, why this isn't gonna fucking negatively affect me if this game releases on PlayStation? Like, I don't fucking care. Like, why people get freaked out? And that's what my point about Halo earlier is. I don't think that Halo is going to be one of the exclusive games that's going to be on PlayStation, but that doesn't mean I don't want it. I think that would be awesome to get more people into that ecosystem and more people loving that game. Like, that would be awesome to me.
I mean, I kind of get it though. When maybe they feel a little bit burned. Granted, they're putting the cart way before the horse because, again, like you said at the front, Xbox hasn't had their official announcement yet. Like, we don't know what they're actually doing. Chill for a week.
Yeah.
I guess I can imagine why they would feel burned though, because like you finally have all these major acquisitions happen over the past 2 or 3 years. It's like, okay, it feels like people have said this online, like the ship is turning. Like competition is going to start now with like actual head-to-head exclusives on various consoles, and competition only breeds like, in my opinion, all our opinions, like what is best for the consumer, because like you're having to directly compete and make your stuff better, right? So it's like, okay, if that ship is sailing, then I guess I can see why people are being like, well, then what was the point of like telling us like, the games are coming for so long when the games are actually coming to other places and, not just to me or whatever. I get it, I guess. But again, it's still a major overreaction to just like, go goodbye Xbox. It's been a long run. Like, well, did you actually care then really that much if you're just like this easily, like just giving everything away and selling it? I don't know.
I think I'm actually less empathetic to these people than Christian is, because I can't help but look at it from the angle of that, like, I understand that like some of these creators have built their entire following off of the brand of Xbox. It's not your brand. It's a $1 trillion corporation. It's not your brand. They're not your buddies. They're not on your team. Like I again, like I said to Dan, like it would suck, it would sting if I boot up my Xbox one day and it said, sorry, Microsoft no longer supports this and all my things are gone. But I bet, all right, time to pack up, move on, I guess. Like, it's a thing that's not mine. It's a product. Like, I don't have. This is part of the parasocial kind of issues that like our generation struggles with. I know some of these guys are older, which doesn't. I mean, it's a bit weird, but still, like the people that live in this space, I guess, that we all struggle with, which is this getting connected to things and people that we don't know and that we don't really have any sort of claim to. So, I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. I saw the picture of the one guy with his receipt from GameStop of like putting all of his things back. It's like, man, you really, why are you letting this bother you so much? It doesn't, these people don't know you exist. It's a box. It's a plastic box that plays games. And then, yeah, to what Dan said earlier, the whole other aspect of this is like, if you're somebody who's a diehard Halo fan, I don't know how this upsets you, because the only market like difference that this will have on you is that your matchmaking times will be shorter now. That's it. That's all it affects you as an Xbox player. Like when they release these games on other consoles.
Yeah.
So I don't get it either. It's ridiculous.
They're not losing anything. Like
You're literally only gaining things as an end user. Yes.
Yeah. Agreed. It'll be interesting to see what Microsoft actually announces next week, and I'm sure we'll have a discussion on next week's episode about what is talked about, except for Christian, because it's Valentine's Day. No, he's going to invite Natalie.
I'll dial in. I'll dial in. Yeah.
Kidding. But no.
Hold on, baby. Hold on, babe. I'll put our date on hold. I gotta give my 2 cents on Xbox real quick.
Yeah. Unless the event's later in the week, I guess. If it's after
Fair.
Wednesday. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we close out the show?
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of Xbox.
Me either. Yeah, I think we're fine. People calm down. And my closing remark is just Tim Dog down.
Tim Dog.
Tim Dog down.
My closing remark is if you're gonna sell all your Xbox consoles and peripherals, don't bring it to GameStop. Sell it privately. I was looking at this guy's receipt and he was getting like $3 for some of these games. Like, what are you doing? That's my thing. If you're gonna be a spaz and sell all your Xbox stuff, do it privately. That's my
Facebook
tip.
Marketplace.
Exactly. eBay, even.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Buck for pulling my arm the last 20 minutes here. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Gage. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Buy physical.
If you still can.
If you